Welcome to the September 22nd, 2022 regular meeting of the Human Services Advisory Board. I'm calling the meeting to order at 7:01. Thank you for attending. I will now call the roll for the board members in attendance. Allison,
Here.
Mary,
Here.
Ruben, Monica,
Present.
I'm sorry, I was on mute. I'm here.
Joanne, Gloria, okay, and Mariana.
Present.
Okay, we have 6 out of 7 in attendance. We do have a quorum. Staff, is anyone present in person, online, or by phone to speak during the citizen comment period?
No.
Okay. We will now consider approval by motion of the September 8th, 2022 meeting minutes. Do I hear a motion to approve?
Approved.
I move. It's okay, I second.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, who did the initial?
I did, I was trying to do the initial motion to approve the
Okay,
meeting
Monica,
minutes.
thank you. Does the board have any discussion or correction regarding the minutes? We're now receiving 5-minute presentation by the applicant agencies for each program that was listed on the evening's agenda. Each program will receive a 30-second warning as the 5-minute time limit is approaching. Each presentation will be followed by a 5-minute question and answering session between board members and the agency regarding the program or application. Members of the public are welcome to listen to the presentation, but will not take part in the decision or the question and answering session. Time limits will be strictly enforced on both the presentation and the question and answering session. Since I'm a voting member of the board, so that I can devote my attention to the presentation and discussion, staff will introduce the presentation and track the time. And that's you, Carol.
Okay, up first we have Nosotros La Gente as the agency, and the first presentation will be about the COATS program, and the presenter is Joe Castillo.
Okay, thank you. My name is Joe Castillo. I'm the Vice President of Nosotros La Gente, which stands for We the People, which was founded in 1996. I would like to thank the board for giving me the opportunity to speak to you this evening and for considering our request. Our mission is to serve our community by providing essential needs that positively impact lives. The COATS program is a new program the organization established late last year using American Rescue Plan funds it received from the city of San Marcos. Since December 2021, the organization has purchased 128 coats at an approximate cost of $1,891. The clients that we provided the coats to were selected by the parent liaisons at the different campuses in the San Marcos School District. And we just found that one of the things we noticed during the purchase of the coats, the parent liaisons were very smart as far as not buying heavy coats for the kids, because towards the end, I mean, it was like March or April when we were purchasing, and by that time the weather was starting to warm up, so they actually purchased fleece jackets, a little lighter, but still kept the kids warm. So at least the kids could use it throughout the rest of the winter time, and even into spring when it was still hadn't warmed up yet. So that's one thing that we noticed during that time. But we just found that it was a very worthwhile program that we started, that we would like to kind of continue it. I mean, we still have funds from the American Rescue that we'll use the rest of this year, and obviously working with parent liaisons to identify the kids that may need a coat here in the next few months. And that's pretty much all I have on this particular program.
Okay, then we'll go ahead and start the question and answer period. So we have 5 minutes for questions and answer. And we can start now.
How much money do you have left over from the American Rescue Fund?
think we allocated, I think it was like 3,000. So we probably have about another $2,000 left in for the rest of this year. And if we needed to, we could always allocate, because I forgot how much money. I think the city gave us like 25,000, I think, from the American Rescue. And we divvied that between the shoe program, which we'll talk about later, and the coats program, grocery or food assistance and things like so. Some of that money can be moved around if we need to. But I think we still have money left that we could still use for the rest of this year.
And how many kids did you service with that money?
We start about 128.
Oh, that's 128 total.
Yes. And of course, the thing with the school district is that, and working with Walmart, the whole thing is that, normally in the past, which we'll get into later, is that we normally would have the kids go out there and pick out their jacket or like that. But because of COVID, we actually had the parent liaisons, I'd first identify the kids, find out what sizes they were, and then go to Walmart and pick out the jacket appropriately, and then we would pay for it. So we really didn't get to see the kids, although, they shared how happy the kids were and everything else as far as receiving this jacket. And so that's one thing that we really miss because of COVID, is being actually seeing the kids smiling faces there at the event. I'm sure all the other agencies have probably experienced the same situation where you're kind of limited of the access to the kids and things like that.
What was the price range of the coats that you were buying last year?
That I'm not real sure. I unfortunately I don't have that information in front of me.
Was it similar to like your shoe program where you gave vouchers of so much money for each kid? Like, was there a max for each kid?
No, not really. When we started doing this methodology of going with parent liaisons, we paid whatever the amount was for the shoes. Normally in the past, we would do like $25 for secondary and $15 for elementary, but we just decided just to, whatever the cost is for the given shoe or given coat, we would pay. No one would be paying the difference. So, because in the past, we would actually have the parents pay, $2 or whatever the extra amount was. This time we decided, no, well, the organization itself will cover the cost of the whole cost of the item.
Joe, do I
Yes.
hear you saying that any time of the year, any school liaison can call you and say, I have 5 kids here, they need jackets and shoes, and they can get them?
Yeah, that's something we're doing a little differently, because normally we would do the distribution in like the month of December, but they need shoes, they need coats throughout the whole year. So, as the parent liaisons identify kids in need, or even people in the community, it's not necessarily the parent liaisons that we would be working with. So anytime a need is identified, we'll meet the client or whoever's sponsoring them over at Walmart, and we'll pay for the shoes or coats. So it's not really strictly to a one-time thing or just a 1 month. Matter of fact, we're doing the shoe distribution, which we'll talk about later, is next month actually, and that's just the first one of the school year. So we'll be doing multiple distributions throughout the school year as needed, or throughout the year actually.
Okay, thank you. So you've expanded the services from your original plan where you would just get names and the shoes would be collected and distributed. So now anyone can call for shoes or coats, or I heard you
Yeah.
even mention food.
Yeah, any of the items, and we're working on trying to get the word out a little bit more. We can't mean, the parent liaisons, I mean, they're a great resource for us as far as identifying the kids, but there are other people in the community that don't have that contact, you know? So we just need to do a better job of communicating that to the community, you know, through our Facebook page or things like that, to let the citizens know that, you know, the service is available.
Thank you.
Okay, now we'll switch over, Joe, to your next project, which is Vivas Zapatos Shoe Drive. And so if you would talk about that.
Yeah, this year marks the 27th annual Nosotros la Gente Viva Zapatos Shoe Drive. Thousands of San Marcos CISD children have received a pair of shoes. 80% of the students in the San Marcos School District are classified as minority. In today's economic situation, even more families are in need. Out of over 8,000 students, over 5,000 of them are on free or reduced lunch. The organization would like to extend our deepest gratitude for our consideration to support the shoe program. None of the money will be used for overhead expenses because all our work is done by volunteers. And this is kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier. In the past years, our shoe distribution took place the second Saturday in December at our San Marcos Walmart. And then during this COVID period, San Marcos school liaisons compiled a list of children needing shoes. And we would distribute shoes several times throughout the year, making sure that no child goes to school needing a pair of shoes. An average of 1,200 pair of shoes are given each year to school children in need. To date, our organization has given over 23,000 pairs of shoes to the children in San Marcos. And then as far as like last year, we gave out 1,656 pair of shoes, you know, ending last December. And then so far as of this year, we've given out a total of 225. So we still have more shoes to give out the rest of this year. And using the money that we got last year from the Human Services Advisory Board, and then also the money that we still have left over from the American Rescue Program. And then we just sent out some donation letters out to different businesses or other contacts that we have. So getting that additional revenue in from that group of people. So with that money, we can actually even support people that live outside of the city of San Marcos. Because really the funds we get from the Human Service Advisory Board is strictly for citizens of San Marcos or children that go to the San Marcos School District. So any of the additional funds that we get as their donations, we can use to assist other kids in the area. And of course, one of the challenges we've had, I mean, we used to have an annual turkey dinner, but because of COVID and just manpower that we used to have, we've lost several key members, either because of illness or something like that. So the people we would really rely on are no longer available. So we're trying to find other fundraising resources, such as grants or like that. Like Walmart just had a big their rededication of their store, and we were one of the recipients of one of their grants at that dedication. So like I said, but we're still working on trying to not completely rely on funds from you guys, but from other sources that we may have access to. Even the Bluebonnet Lions Club, you know, gave us a grant recently too.
Okay, does that conclude your presentation?
Yes.
Okay, great. So we'll go on to the question and answer period.
Joe, how much county?
Was that Ruben?
Ruben, it
How
seems like
much,
you're frozen.
Joe,
Oh,
does the county give you?
there you are.
Well, we
Can you hear
usually
me?
get, yeah, I can hear you now.
How much
Yeah, we
does the
usually
county
get-
give you?
Yeah, we need to get about $5,000 from the county, but majority of that money actually goes towards medical assistance, funeral assistance, rent assistance, stuff like that. mean, only a small percentage, if we so decide, the organization does, would go to actually purchasing of shoes. But the majority of the funds that we use for the shoe program actually come from you guys or from donations that we're able to collect from the community. Very small amount of it, if ever, goes from the county.
Thank you, Joe.
Sure.
The only thing listed under grants was the Hayes County for $5,000. So where does the other 5 come from again?
From the county, the Hayes County Commissioners Court, they get funding from the tobacco settlement. And so we're able to use, we always applied for that grant every year, and generally it's $5,000. But we use that funds for medical rent assistance and things like that. We hardly ever use that for shoes. I mean, we strictly have allowed and relied on our donations that we've collected, or funds that we get from you guys, or other donations that we may receive out in the community.
Any other questions? All right. All right, thank you very much. If there are no other questions, we'll just go on to our next presenter.
And I'd like to thank the board again for hearing my presentation. And I know y'all have a lot of things you're going to have to discuss amongst yourselves to figure out, with the amount of money that is less than last year. So, but any funding you can provide us, we greatly appreciate it.
All right, thank you very much.
Sure. Thank you.
Okay, our next presenter, the agency is called Rough Draft. Excuse me, I messed that up. The agency is called Rough Draft. The program is called the Superhero Art Project, and the presenter is Brooke Piliphant.
Hi, sorry, I had some technical difficulties. I kept popping in and out. I had a PowerPoint presentation. I'm not sure if I can share my screen or not.
I can make you a host, just 1 minute. So we won't start your time yet because I've got to make you a host.
So I'm on, my video wasn't working, so I'm on my child's Mac, which I'm not super proficient with. So please excuse the way that the presentation is not rolling perfectly.
Okay, I've made you a co-host, and so you're able to share your screen if you can.
I can, I'm just getting like, let's see.
And then if it doesn't work for some reason,
That's okay.
you can email it to me and I can send it to the board after the fact.
Okay, honestly, let's just do that then, because then we're not taking up too much time. I'm just trying to figure out how to close out. Oops. Oh no. Oh no, babe. I think I lost the.
Oh, you're still
Oh, no,
here.
here. Oh, good. Okay, I was asking him, my tech, my partner is my tech person. Okay, no, I'm back. I'm good. I'm just terrible with a Mac. Okay, let's just start.
Okay.
Okay, so our program is called the Superhero Art Program. And what we are doing is focusing on providing art programming to incarcerated individuals in Hayes County. We found that programs, or I guess not we, but research has shown that programs centered on art making can help advance participants' self-directedness, which affords an increased chance of redirecting one's life and potentially to resist reoffending. So what research has also found is that for incarcerated individuals, art making fosters self-confidence by making them feel productive, normal, and human. It also works to increase their sense of their own value and their importance, not only to themselves, but to their community as well. Our program wants to utilize 3 different forms of art. It would be visual art, drama, and creative writing. when producing visual art, the act of creating and designing something actually has impacts on the brain by changing its neural pathways, which helps to transform how people think and feel not only about themselves, but about the world around them. The idea of using drama and role-playing activities is to help increase social cognitive skills like empathy and theory of mind. And then the idea of working with creative writing, it's extremely beneficial for mental health. It helps people cope with trauma and foster resilience and opportunities to process trauma, because just being incarcerated in and of itself is trauma, is a traumatic experience for people. But it helps them heal by being able to envision a path forward by looking at narrative essays and creative writing in a sense of healing, rather than just a sense of what most people get in an English classroom. Our art project we would like to run 10 to 12 classes, and we would run those repeatedly so that different people in the facilities would be able to participate based upon how Hays County is set up. The classes would run 60 to 90 minutes and would take place within the detention facilities. Our curriculum design employs a theme which is called superhero therapy. It's actually a specific type of therapy that has recently come about. It's backed by Dr. Jana Scarlett, and we feel that that is culturally relevant to all people right now, that everyone, regardless of their background, whether that's socioeconomic, cultural, their race, their creed, whatever it is, you can relate in some way, no matter what age you are, to superheroes. And so what we want to do is utilize the superhero origin story, which often focuses on overcoming trauma and tragedy to find inner strength and power, and couple that with a form of art in order to help people process their own self and create opportunities to explore and express their own personal narratives. Okay, I'm not even sure what time I'm at, but I think that that's kind of where we're at. We want to target justice-involved youth and adults. Right now, we are the only programming besides AA and NA that currently run at Hays County Jail. So they are open and willing to allow us to come in and do the art projects. We also had the idea of maybe expanding out into shelters and maybe looking at foster programs, just to be able to incorporate as many juveniles as possible. So that's just another possibility, kind of moving outside of the detention concept and into kids there. Let's see, we generally serve somewhere between 300 and 400 men, women, and youth here in our organization. I'm not sure how much time I have. I don't want to go over time, but
30 seconds.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm good there. I'm super happy to go ahead and just field questions. Sorry, a little nervous as well.
Okay, that's totally understandable. And we'll start the 5-minute Q&A period now.
Okay.
What was the doctor's name that you mentioned for the superhero therapy?
Her name is, and my apologies if I'm pronouncing her first name incorrectly, but it's Dr. Janina Scarlett, Janina.
And Brooke, you did a great job, by the way, but you mentioned the 300 to 400 supported both youth and adults. And that is just in Hays County in this past year, or?
No, we actually run programming in Travis County, Hays County, and Tarrant County.
Okay, got it.
So, and we, Hays County just recently opened back up. So we have jumped right in, so.
Okay, excellent, thank you.
You mentioned you have 10 to 12 classes. How often are the classes?
So our concept was to develop 10 to 12 classes and then be able to implement them in whatever works for that facility. Because the jails and detention centers have a rotating number of people coming in and out, we wanted to be able to offer it to as many people as possible. So our idea was to run those 10 or 12 classes for a full year so that we could get as many people as possible to participate. Hays County specifically doesn't mix pods or tanks. And so we have to individually go into each tank right now and only service those people. So we wanted to make sure that we're getting as many people as possible with those 10 to 12 classes. I'm sorry, did that make sense? So
Yes and no.
okay.
10 to 12 classes, is like 12 classes, let's say it's 12. That's 12 total classes per year or per time frame or?
So we would run like 12 classes and we would run them we would hit 4 pods at a time. So we would run that 12 within those, like that 3 month, that 12 weeks, we would be doing it 4 times so that we could hit all the tanks in 1 pod. And then we would repeat that over the next 12-week period. We would go into another tank and get all 4 pods and run it 4 times that way. So I guess I could do the math really fast. It would be 12 times 4, which is 48 times 4. So we would be running about, if possible, somewhere around a little over 100 classes for the year.
Oh, okay. For each institution?
No, just for Hays County. This would just be Hays County. So what we're looking for funding for right now is just to run these classes for Hays County. And we've requested funding from other sources to run them in other counties.
Okay.
So currently we have a grant from Texas Commission on the Arts to run the program with 17-year-olds who are currently incarcerated in Travis County.
And those classes runs the gamut of visual, drama, and creative writing.
Yeah,
It's not,
12 classes, so 4 writing, 4 drama, 4 visual arts.
oh, okay.
And then
All right.
each one has a different superhero attached to that class.
Okay,
12 total superheroes.
all right. And the funding is mainly for staffing, or did I
So-
misread that?
The funding is for staffing, yes, but it's also for supplies as well, because art supplies they're just expensive. So we did this program not with superheroes, but an art programming, and the majority of our funds came from a lot of it comes just from facilitators and art supplies. But some of those art supplies we can reuse, so we don't have to, rebuy paint brushes every time. And we also have to make sure that we fall within the facility guidelines. So we have to be really careful about the supplies that we do purchase have to be approved. So sometimes that can be a little bit more expensive as well.
In your application, you mentioned that the curriculum that y'all utilize is culturally relevant. Could you speak a little bit to how that curriculum either is adapted or meets the needs of the people that you all serve, and how your staff also reflects that population?
Okay.
At 5 minutes.
Oh, we're at 5 minutes.
We're at 5 minutes, so go ahead and answer the question, and
I'll
then
just
we
do
just
it
won't
really
take
quick.
any more. Yeah, but
okay.
you can answer the question. Yeah.
Okay, so we make sure that all of the information, our curriculum designers come from a variety of different backgrounds. And what we want to do is utilize superheroes that come from African-American and Latino backgrounds as well, not just your standard Marvel, Batman, Superman kind of look. There's lots of other superheroes out there, especially women as well. And so we want to make sure that all of that is included. And then as far as making sure that we're meeting the diverse needs of our population, several of our writers and designers are also have been previously incarcerated. And so a lot of them understand, not just from a theoretical perspective, but from an actual life experience perspective. I'm kind of like, how does this work and what can we use to help inspire people and cut down, and reduce the recidivism rate. I'm not sure if I got every single one of your questions. If I didn't answer one, please let me know.
That's okay. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll need to go on to our next presenter. We really appreciate your presenting tonight.
Thank you so much for having me. Much appreciated.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, our next one is the agency is Any Baby Can. The program is Early Childhood Intervention, and the presenter is Guillermo Lopez.
Good evening, everybody. Again, my name is Guillermo Lopez, and thank you for taking time this evening to have the council and to also hear us out. I think it's interesting, and I love just listening to what everybody's talking about this evening. So, again, the Early Childhood Intervention Program, or ECI, is one of our program is one of 42 programs in the state of Texas. That's part within subcontracting with the Texas Health and Human Service Commission for families with children birth up to age 3 with developmental delays, disabilities, or certain medical diagnoses that may impact their development. We also provide services to children that have a medical diagnosis such as cerebral palsy, Down syndrome, autism, and over 100 other diagnoses that are automatic qualifiers into our program. However, if a child is presenting with a developmental delay without a medical diagnosis, then they do have to qualify for services for ECI. They need to have a significant delay or a standard deviation and a half to be eligible for our program. We use a standardized assessment tool such as the Battelle Developmental Inventory, the 2nd edition. We're about to go to a 3rd edition, or the Developmental Assessment of Young Children, also known as the DAISY 2. For the areas that we assess, there needs to be a 25% delay in one area, such as gross motor, fine motor, cognition, adaptive self-help, social emotional, in order to qualify for services. And for language or for communication, a 33% delay in either expressive or receptive is required in order to be eligible for the program. Referrals, we get referrals from physicians, probably about 75% to 80% of the referrals come from physicians, but moms can also refer themselves. We get referrals from CPS, we get referrals from WIC, sometimes we get referrals from Community Action, from the Early Head Start program as well, and daycares in San Marcos as well. When we receive the referral, we always ask what's the concern, and sometimes it might be, my child's is 2 years old and it's not talking yet. Then we get a speech therapist and assign a service coordinator to that team to go evaluate that family and that child to see if they're eligible for services. We have occupational physical therapy and speech therapy. They share their knowledge and strategies to the families at the level that they are at. Everyone learns at a different pace, and ECI providers are aware of this and thus teach families at their own ability to acquire different knowledge and intervention skills for their children. This is critical since in our model, the caregiver provides intervention daily throughout their day. We're also unique in having state credentialed early intervention specialists, or EIS, that are expert in coaching parents with activities to increase opportunities for the child to practice new skills. They help with answering parenting questions and strategies to help with behavior concerns as well. Each family has an assigned service coordinator who helps the family access and receive services and resources they need to support the child's development. The service coordinators also help with transition planning to special education services with local school districts, or explore other options with the family for when the child turns 3. The family may choose not to participate in the local school district program when they turn 3. The family always has the right to choose what setting they want to be in. The coaching model is critical in what we do. ECI is based on an educational family paradigm. We strongly believe that the biggest way to make a difference is to educate the caregivers in the knowledge they need to be experts in their child's life. Daily intervention during the child's routine leads to making positive outcomes.
Okay, thank you very much. And let's start the question and answer period.
Can you hear me?
Hi, Ruben. Yes, I can hear you.
Do your clients qualify for insurance reimbursement?
Yes, our clients, they do. We get about our Medicaid population right now is about 54%, 57%. And then we get about 30% of them are private insurance. We probably have about 10 to 15% that might be no insurance at all. Our program is not based on income. It's based on eligibility. They have to have a 25% delay in any one area or 33% delay in communication.
So how much are you bringing in from the insurance companies?
From the insurance companies, we probably get from medical billing revenue, we probably did about 2 million for Travis, Blanco, Llano, and Hayes. Altogether, we have 65 individuals that work for early childhood intervention in those 4 counties. But for San Marcos, we have 4 service coordinators, 2 speech therapists, and 2 motor therapists for the San Marcos alone. Now, the 4 service coordinators dedicated to San Marcos, when we started, it was about 100 families, and now we're up to 153 families. So really, we had to add 2 more service coordinators. Each caseload's about 25. So the need in all of the counties are showing increased growth, including San Marcos. San Marcos has shown a lot more growth, and it's really about 50% growth over the last 2 years from the families that we're serving today versus what we were serving 2 years ago.
But that increased growth also increases your Medicare reimbursement or your private insurance reimbursement.
It does, but it also increases the gap that we need. So really, again, the contract only pays for 45% of the programming, and then another 30% comes from the medical reimbursement, right? That leaves about a 15% gap. So really, if we're really looking like this year, our agency, maybe we can, for FY22, probably had about a $600,000 gap where we were not funded correctly. Again, one of the things that if you look at, the news, recently is that there's not adequate funding for ECI. There's about it went from like 7% gap to 10% gap to 15% gap. The legislators were, when they did the allocation, they were looking at pandemic numbers. Yes, the pandemic for everyone, I believe for everyone here, we had a 30% drop in enrollment during the pandemic years from 2019 to 2021. We started to see that increase right off the bat in 22 and continues into 23, FY23. And I really think that's where we saw that discrepancy in the adequate funding and the gap that we're seeing today. The system itself, the state of Texas set up the system where they only give about 45% of state contract money. And then the other 40% we have to self-generate to be self-sustainable. That still leaves about a 10 to 15% gap to help find coverage for. And that's just, the state of Texas wants community partners to come support the families in the communities that they live in.
How much is the total budget just for San Marcos?
Oh man, that's a great question. I can tell you that, when you start looking at the rent itself is, we're part of the Village Main. So that the rent is that's part of it. I could break it down and give it to you exact, but just the salaries that we have, again, an occupational therapist runs about $85,000. A physical therapist runs about $95,000. The service coordinator makes about $45,000. There's 4, now there's 6 of them. So, and then the utilities that we might have and the rent. So it adds up pretty quickly, Ruben. These positions are expensive positions, but they're needed in order to provide the therapy that's required or needed for these families that are physician ordered for these families as well. And again, we have a medical billing department that bills, right? We have to invest in having individuals bill for the services as well. So again, it's not, when you think about what $30,000 is asking, it doesn't even pay for all the salaries that we actually have invested in San Marcos. And not even including the administrative assistants, the supervisors for the oversight, and the other pieces that we have that are needed in San Marcos. And I think San Marcos is still growing. We slowed down a little bit because of the pandemic, and we're starting to see a growth. I don't think that we're done growing, and I think that the city itself is probably going to continue to have more growth from probably city of Austin. People are moving from city of Austin to Hayes, to Kyle, to Buda, and to San Marcos. And now you're getting that from New Braunfels as well.
We're at 5 minutes.
Okay, we're at 5 minutes, and so that's all the time we have for this agency. And thank you very much for presenting this evening.
Thank you.
And our final agency is Austin Habitat for Humanity. It's the Housing Counseling Program, and the presenters are Robert Watts and Bertie Flores Samilpa.
Good evening.
Good evening, everyone. So I'm Robert Watts, I'm Director of Regional Operations with Habitat. Let Bertie introduce herself.
Yes, Bertie Flores Samilpa. I am the housing counselor for Austin Habitat for Humanity. Thank you for having me.
I know we have a PowerPoint, I guess, can we share that, or Bertie, do you have that already, or I do too?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Okay, so Bertie, I'll make you into a co-host. Okay, and you should be able to share your screen. There you go.
There you go. Can you guys see that okay?
Yes.
Does it look, okay, perfect. So Austin Habitat for Humanity, we have our vision and our mission. Our mission is seeking to put God's love in action. So Austin Habitat for Humanity brings people together to build homes, community, and hope. We have a vision where a world where everyone has a decent and affordable place to live. Changing the lives with affordable housing, Austin Habitat for Humanity has built more than 500 homes since 1985. We've also repaired almost 400 homes in the area. And we have empowered over 12,000 community members with housing, education, and housing counseling. So all of our families are low to moderate income, and they're working families, earning up to the 80% of the median income, area median income. We build high quality new homes and sell them at an affordable cost to families who complete our process, including housing counseling, as well as sweat equity volunteering. The benefits of homeownership and stable housing include better health, education achievements, and an asset building over generations. Habitat has built 22 homes in San Marcos for the local families. And in fact, we just closed on a home for a family this past week. We have another lady that we're assisting. She's a teacher, single family. She's a single mother of 2, and she is going through the process as we speak to build her home. We have about 4 homes that we're working on currently. So, you know, we're getting her the help that she needs to be able to purchase this home for her and her family. Our Restore on I-35 serves the San Marcos community and generates revenue, including $130,000 in sales tax revenue in 2021, and they're expecting $170,000 for 2022. We partner with local leaders such as McCoy's, Grifols, and Amazon to support our work there in San Marcos. So the housing counseling program is the first step for all Habitat home buying or home buyers, including the San Marcos families. Each family receives group education and a one-on-one counseling to identify and overcome barriers to success, like low credit scores or high levels of debt. The housing counseling program is required for all the Habitat homeowners. In addition, we also offer that service to the community free of charge. We have served in San Marcos since 2019 through CDBG support, reaching more than 100 city residents. The 16,635 requested, all direct program will cover all direct program costs. It allows us to increase clients served in San Marcos by 50%, expecting about 75 participants during this grant period. We're going to continue partnership with the San Marcos Library to host workshops and counseling services at no cost. We built 2 San Marcos homes during grant period for the families who are completing housing counseling. Our CDBG funding will be reduced for the 2023 year. So we are hoping that this new resource to continue growing here.
Yeah, and real quick, just to let y'all know, so what Birdie alluded to there, we did apply for some CDBG funding, mainly for housing counseling. Housing counseling is provided to all residents. Obviously, we do have residents and people that want to purchase a Habitat home, but the service we provide through housing counseling is for anyone in the community. So that funding sadly was reduced. So we've come to the Human Services Commission to try to find some funding that will also not just provide funding for housing counseling services, but also for our overall program services. So just to put just some key takeaways real quick, I don't know where we are on time.
30 seconds.
Okay, I'll wrap this up real quick. So biggest funding gaps for San Marcos. You know, San Marcos Habitat for Humanity, you might see our brand now as Austin, but we merged with San Marcos Habitat. It was around since 1997, and for 20 years, they did that alone through volunteers. We merged in 2017. When we were able to merge, we had staff, and so we were able to open the restore. Before that, with an all-volunteer-led affiliate, you can't do that. So there are things that we've been able to do through this merger, this partnership, and it's been beneficial on both sides. But just real quick, Habitat purchased 3 lots off of Hillier and Dartmouth in 2016 through substantial help from the Core Foundation and also CDBG funds. At that time, those 3 lots were around $60,000 total. Our most recent land purchases in San Marcos have averaged over $50,000 per lot. So just in less than 5 years, what we used to
Okay,
do
and
was get
I'm
3
gonna
lots
have to
for-
go ahead and cut time. And
Okay.
so we'll start the question and answer session now.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Now hold discussions among board members on programs, agencies, and applications for the process of clarification, comparison, evaluation, and assessment.
Joanne?
Yes.
It's time for the question and answer session for Habitat for Humanity.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Okay.
Missed that one. I have a question. Do you guys do other things like, could a citizen come to you and apply to have a wheelchair ramp installed, or maybe have a front door in?
Mary, you're muted now for
Is
some
there an
reason.
application process?
there you
for
are.
that?
Mary Jean, your vocals let out for a little bit there. You're muted, but I think you're talking about wheelchair or accessibility.
Wheelchair ramp, would you guys build wheelchair ramps or enlarge your front door or doors inside of the home? Do you do things like outside of just building a home?
Yeah, we have not done that ourselves in San Marcos. We have, there are other groups in town that have done that. We've done that in other parts of our 5-county area. Not to say that we wouldn't if there were a need. We do have a critical home repair group. When we apply for funding through different groups, we also use funding from state agencies and organizations. So that is something we provide, but we've noticed in San Marcos and particularly Hays County, there are other organizations that are providing that. So we've been focused on our housing counseling, on our new construction, things like that. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Robert, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
I'm just curious, what kind of profit did you make off the store last year?
Oh, gosh, Ruben, that's a good question. I really don't know exactly. I'd have to get back to you on that. I know when we first opened that, sir?
Do the profits go back to the local community?
They do, yes. So I know the first few years when we opened that up, we were, the overall organization was propping that store up. But yes, all the funding that we get from the store goes back to the local community, goes back to our builds. And all of our stores help across the organization. But yes, we channel those funds, whatever is brought in from San Marcos at the San Marcos Restore, that goes back to building homes in San Marcos.
If you could email Carol with that information, I would appreciate
Sure.
it.
We'll do that.
Well, right now, I can't think of any other organization that builds homes for our residents at an affordable price. So you said you guys partnered with McCoy's, and how does McCoy's assist you?
McCoy's and other corporate groups have helped fund the homes, helped fund land purchases. You know, that's what I was getting around to saying, was that the McCoy Foundation in 2016 bought 3 lots for $60,000. We bought 1 lot recently for $50,000. So exponentially, lot and land prices have just gone up. But we've been able to have partners through, like McCoy's and the McCoy family and McCoy Foundation, Grifols, Amazon, other corporate groups around that help us. You know, people don't know that a Habitat home costs roughly these days. It's a new home, it's warranted. Our homeowners purchase it from us for a 0 equivalent mortgage, and they put 300 hours of sweat equity. But those homes cost about $130,000, and that's just the home building. That doesn't even include the land. So any and all funding that we receive goes back into the affordable housing. And kind of to Ruben's point, any operations that we have in the area and our overall 5-county area goes back to affordable home ownership. And the different programs that we have, like home repair, housing counseling, et cetera.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So Robert, I heard her say that there's a client right now that is going through the process. It almost made it sound like a loan process. Was she pulling a loan, or do y'all give the homes to the clients?
No, they are purchased. There's no homes being given. They go through an application process. It is based on income, family size, median family income. And so the homeowner then purchases the home after putting 300 hours of sweat equity. We sell that at an extremely affordable price based on their income. We now have, on all of our homes in San Marcos, we have actually any homes we build in Hays County, but all the homes in San Marcos, we have deed restrictions. So I'm blanking on the exact term, but basically any kind of, what it does is 2 things. It locks in the tax rate, so the tax rate cannot go up exponentially. I guess shared appreciation is what I was looking for. And then if that homeowner is to sell it, we are given first right of refusal to then sell it to someone that's in our pipeline. So yes, it is an application process. I don't know, Bertie could probably tell us more if we have a wait list.
We are actually looking for families currently, as a matter of fact. So they do, as the initial inquiry comes in, they will go through your standard mortgage process. Like we look at the, to your work history, we look at the credit report. We prepare the client to become the homeowner and to know that it's a 30-year commitment. And so we're looking at their income. We're taking 35% of their gross monthly income to qualify them. So they, so that they're not, for lack of a better word, house broke. We want to make sure that they are able to maintain the home because it is a 30-year commitment. So on their part. And so, but we also strive to make that home affordable for the family.
And I would encourage any of the members of this group, you can reach out to Bertie or myself, but if you were to go and look at, that's one thing that's beautiful about Habitat is, if you were to go look at the homes that Habitat for Humanity has built through volunteers, through community members on Stillwell, Belvin, Hillier, Overlook, Earl Street, we're going to be building on Clyde Street. You see, because those people put 300 hours of sweat equity, you see the pride in home ownership in those homes.
Okay, thank you. I'll have to call time there. We really appreciate you coming out to present to the board. And now I'll hand over the table back to Joanne.
Thank you,
Carol.
Chairman.
I'm sorry, I was jumping the gun there. We will now
Carol,
Oh, 1 second, Joanne, I'm sorry, Ruben.
I would like to know the average house sale. In other words, what they get for a house, like the single mother with 2 kids. How much are they selling the house for? Like, just a follow-up question that you can put in an email.
I believe the home that we're selling right now, if I'm not mistaken, I believe it's 185,000, I believe.
155,000?
No, sir, 185,000.
Yeah, okay.
We can get you those numbers. I know when we built on Hilliard Street, I want to say that we ordered an appraisal on a home. The house probably appraised for about 200. There was a house down the road that was selling for 250. And at that time, we sold that home for about 135. So it's an extremely discounted home based on the market value.
I'm
We can
sorry,
get the number for you, Ruben.
I didn't mean for that to turn into a question. That was a follow-up email.
I hear you.
Okay.
That's
Joanne.
affordable housing. That's called affordable housing.
Is it Mary?
Yes, that's what we need, affordable housing.
I've only done it for 30 years.
Yes, I know, Ruben.
Thank you, Mary.
All right, we will turn it over to Joanne for the next section of the meeting.
Okay, for the third time. We will now hold discussions among board members on programs, agencies, and applications for the purpose of clarification, comparison, evaluation, and assessment. This discussion is public, however, it is only among board members. This time is meant to be a free flow of conversations. Please make your comments succinct to allow time for all board members to share if they wish. This discussion will be facilitated by Carol Griffith, Housing and Community Development Manager. Carol, you have the floor.
Okay, and I'll just open up the floor for any comments or questions that people have. I can always try to ask some questions as well, but if you have anything you'd like to talk about, I always like to, well, maybe I will start with one question. Like what I like to remind y'all is that we're trying to make this memorable because you have so many agencies to review. And so if you could talk about anything that makes it memorable for you, that's one thing that you could talk about at this point, but it's really open for any discussion at all.
Carol, what was the name of the group that did art for juveniles incarcerated and adults that are incarcerated?
The name of the agency was called Rough Draft, and the program is called Superhero Art Project.
Okay, I just didn't see that on the agenda.
Oh, okay.
So I'm happy to start. So for tonight, another great group of organizations that could utilize the San Marcos funding. I think we say that probably every week, but truly a great set of organizations that are doing a lot of good in the community. I did like to see, I know we had one other so far around incarcerated individuals. I liked that this one here did both youth at juvenile incarceration as well as the adult programs. I thought that was great to see that they've got the spectrum. Also the Any Baby Can. I don't know, I was out one of the weeks, but I don't think we've seen anything yet that's doing that early adolescence support. And so I thought that was really good to see some variety in this week on some of the programs that we're seeing. Same thing with the shoe and jacket drive as well too. I don't think we've seen anything. We've seen some of the food drives and things of that nature, but it was nice to see some variety this week and some of the ways that they're supporting the community.
You know, the baby, what was it, baby?
Any baby.
Yeah, they were getting millions of dollars through insurance reimbursement. It's one of the things I noticed in their budget. It seems to me that, yes, they may have a disparity.
Uh-oh, he froze.
Ruben, you're frozen.
Come back, Ruben.
On that vein, did he say what's the transition once the kid turns 3? What other agency can pick up the ball, or, and I guess it's it's voluntary whether or not they want to continue?
The school district.
Yeah.
Just the school district. Okay, all right. And they don't necessarily have to participate. It's, I mean, they go through the program and then just at 3?
They're gonna be identified when they get in school anyway. I mean, just through the curriculum and how they're learning. I mean, it's.
Yeah, I think it's
not-
specific to early childhood development, and so that's where their focus is.
It is, my son went through the program, and so the school districts have a special class to, it's kind of like pre-K, but it's within the school district. And it's specific for children with needs.
Well, what happens in the interim? I mean, if the child's 3 and you don't start school until 5 or 6.
The school
unless
district
you-
takes them at 3 years old. It's a special program within the school districts.
Oh, okay. I
So
didn't
they
pick up
continue
on
the
that.
services in the school district. And
Okay.
then when they're 5, then they start the kindergarten process within that school district or whatever school district you're in.
I see. Okay, I didn't
It's-
pick up on that.
Yeah, because if you don't go through the school district, it's voluntary, then you just, if you're fortunate and you have insurance, you could do like private speech therapy or private physical therapy, but that gets costly, because sometimes you have to go 2 or 3 times a week, depending on
Right.
the severity of the child's disability.
Okay,
That's just been my personal experience with the program.
and the Habitat for Humanity, they mentioned that in the PowerPoint, that I don't think she went through the whole PowerPoint, that they're increasing, it allows for an increase, 50% increase in assistance for San Marcos residents. That's quite an increase.
Well, since we started working with San Marcos, we noticed that,
Bertie, I'm sorry, I'll have to interrupt. You're not allowed to speak.
oh, I apologize.
Sorry.
Sorry.
I will say about Habitat for Humanity, though, it's a much needed program. We used to have a summer program where we had volunteers that came into town and they, Ruben, you can jump in anytime you want to. But anyway, it was an opportunity for free money coming in and volunteers as far as the labor to help go in and renovate, and bring some of the oldest houses in some of our low income areas, bring them up to code. And we don't have that anymore. We lost that for some reason. I have no idea. But Habitat Humanities is the closest thing to affordable housing that we have here in Hays County. That keeps coming up, I know, on city council, and somehow it gets pushed back. And it is such a great need. I mean, I think people don't understand. I mean, to be able to get a house in that price range, I mean, that is a blessing. And they do go in there and meet people where they are, and they do a lot of work getting people ready to be able to handle a monthly mortgage. They do counseling and help people with fixing their credit. And, you know, I would love to get a house for $180,000. That's just not even heard of anymore. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just.
I didn't think it was possible to build a house for that much.
And with materials going up, There are many, many challenges, but like they said, the families are invested, they put in the sweat. And it's, if you've never seen one be finished from start to finish, and then to see those families go in, it's truly something to behold. These are grateful people. And I was glad to hear that, a teacher, they're now working with a teacher who has children. I heard on the news today that Austin, they're trying to identify housing for teachers because there's a shortage of teachers because they can't afford to live in Austin. So we definitely don't want to, lose any of our because of housing, but I commend them for the work that they're doing. It's just awesome. I wish you guys could see it. And those houses are immaculate.
I bet.
Programs
So this program was specifically for the counseling portion of the program, how the housing counseling program, right?
I'm sorry, what did you say?
This money, the money requested is specifically for the housing counseling program.
I'll have to go back.
Correct. The application said program expansion for workshops and one-on-one counseling.
Right, right.
And it's needed. It really is. I mean, that's a huge responsibility to take on. If you haven't had a mortgage, there's stress and anxiety and.
Well, I'm sure it helps them become eligible as well. By, addressing credit scores and, how you fill out the application, whatever. Well, I'm sure that it's very useful.
I
Back
think
it.
y'all
Can you hear me?
shared like what seems obvious, like for Habitat for Humanity, like right now with the cost of inflation and in Hayes County, like the rising cost of homes, it almost seems unattainable for a lot of people. And as someone who's in my 20s and not a homeowner, it can be very discouraging. And so knowing that this is accessible, for people in the next couple of years, however long, to hopefully get to that point, it feels really good to know that we could have a part in helping people stay here. I'm from here and I'm biased and I want people to stay here, but I think that's great. And then with Nosotros La Gente, like, I like that they've kind of expanded it to do it more than once throughout the year, because we've heard and seen like kids getting pairs of shoes at the beginning of the school year, and then by the end of that semester, they're out of them. Kids grow fast. They're running around and wearing those same shoes every day because maybe that's all they have, or they're so in love with that pair of shoes. They wear them out. And I have an 11-year-old nephew and see how quickly he goes through those. So it's good to know that they're assessing needs throughout the year and being able to be responsive to that. And for Rough Draft, that was my first time hearing of them, but it was really interesting to learn and see in their application, one, how knowledgeable they are on this subject matter, but that two, that they're using like evidence-based program and curriculum. I guess what I had wanted to probably know more about was just the fact that people cycle out in and out of incarceration or move around to different facilities, like the effectiveness then of that intervention if people aren't able to attain all 10 to 12 classes. So how she was talking about like reducing stress and anxiety, increasing self-esteem and resilience, like how are those outcomes playing out if people are bound to be moving around and not getting the full services? So those are some of my thoughts.
Yeah, it's a unique way to address a part of the incarceration that hasn't been, touched before, other than just basic, needs, and just straight up counseling. I can see how that program would be helpful in a lot of arenas. I'm pretty impressed with the measurement scales they use. I'm sure it can be applied and other helpful areas when you're, taking stock of anybody's progress or lack thereof.
One thing about Nuestros La Gente is, just having them be there to provide those shoes and that jacket, or maybe 2 jackets and 2 pairs of shoes, at any time during the year, that's saving parents that money that they would have to spend on shoes and a jacket or whatever else. Nuestros La Gente, they're saying now that they could even help with food, utilities and things like that, that's going to help that family, that home, save that money, and they can use it for other things like buying food or, gas for the car since gas has gone up, or to even pay, a car payment. Just having these organizations with these services fill in those gaps is really important right now.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
I've been kicked out 4 or 5 times. It's getting frustrating. I think you're doing it on purpose, Carol.
It's not me.
I just wanted to discuss, it was good to hear Joe talk about that they're helping with utilities and burials and coats and shoes. I like direct services. Habitat for Humanity, I don't really call that I'm sorry?
Burials?
Yeah, he said burials. Sometimes people don't plan to die and they don't put anything aside to be buried. I at one point paid for a man's funeral. His daughter was livid and beside herself because she didn't know where she's going to get the money to bury her dad. And I don't think anybody should have to worry about stuff like that when a parent dies. But either way, Habitat for Humanity, I don't consider that affordable housing. I'm sorry. Just because they're lower prices because of inflation, $185,000 for a single mother and 2 kids, that's a lot. And I know I built a 2-bedroom house at $82,000. And the reason I ask about the store income, some of those prices in there are higher than McCoy's. And if they're trying to raise money to help the community, they ought to lower their prices. Matter of fact, I've got a cane I bought there at Habitat for Humanity with me right now for $8. Now, I didn't think that was too much, but most of their other stuff, like doors, are $400 or $500. It's way high. And it's almost like, in a way, a contradiction in terms of wanting to help the community, but yet putting their prices so high that the community can't afford them. So I don't know. I think we need to take that into consideration. The baby.com deal, they're getting millions of dollars in insurance reimbursement. Nobody else that I can see, I've looked at all the budgets, getting that type of money. And it would seem to me that you ought to live within your means. And especially when our funding is so limited this year. I'm just throwing that out. It's not, I support them all, and I think they're all doing a wonderful job. But at some point, decisions are going to have to be made through your process, and they're going to be hard decisions to make. So we can sing the praise of all these nonprofits, but at the same time, we have to be realistic as to what they're actually doing. And I'm wondering if, it wouldn't matter. The incarceration art program, if they could couple with the other program that's also doing stuff. They worked with juveniles as well. That was part of our presentation. So they both work with juveniles. They both work with the total population. So anyway, that was my comments. I'm done before I get kicked out again, before Carol kicks me out. I'm kidding, Carol.
For me, Nosotros de la Gente, I was pleased to see, I've been part of this committee. This will be my 3rd year. I'm pleased to hear that their programs are expanding. And what really stood out for me was they had some leftover funds from last year. So for me, that's showing they're being fiscally responsible organization, and they're able to make that money go to direct services and make it last to meet the needs of the community. Considering they've had so many obstacles and fundraising delays, that they're just able to maintain a healthy budget and be fiscally responsible is what really stood out to me on that organization.
Another question that we could talk about, just in case it will help the group, is the impact that these different programs will have and on whom. That's something that, like, for example, these programs all impact different populations. Another, and I'll switch gears too, like another thing you might start talking about is how we'll categorize and score different organizations so that you can make the choices in the funding. What we'll do is I'll combine all of your scores into a spreadsheet that shows low, medium, and high. So you can see what everybody else scored the agencies. But I think this year it's going to be extra tough because we have 36 agencies and just $500,000. And so I hope that y'all are thinking in terms of impact on the community, or values that you want to support, or categories of agencies and so forth, how to make that decision, because that's where we'll be discussing it in the end after all the presentations are done. So those are just some thoughts that I'm thinking of as I'm listening to your discussion.
Carol, is it factual that we cannot fund like 80% of a program?
That's not a requirement. Y'all can fund as much or as little of a program as you choose.
Oh, I thought there was a deal put in place that you couldn't get over 50% of your funding from.
Oh, the 50% rule is it can't be more than 50% of the agency's budget.
Okay. Because I think we're going to have an issue there with some of these people. Because some of them, one of them is requesting $150,000. That's their whole budget.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we will definitely need to look at that.
All right.
Yeah. Any other comments this evening? I'm sorry, I'm not good at promoting discussion. I don't want to inhibit discussion. I'm hoping that y'all are able to say whatever you need to. I know it's hard to figure out what to talk about each week. So, okay, with that, I'll hand it back over to Joanne to continue down the agenda.
Now time to receive updates from board members on activities since the last meeting. Does any board member have an update for the group? All right, we will move to the next item, which is future agenda items. Board members may provide requests for decision items for a future agenda in accordance with the board's approved bylaws. No further discussion can be held related to topics purpose until they are posted on a future agenda in accordance with the Texas Open Meeting Act. Does any board member want to request an item for a future agenda? Thank you. We'll now move on to the agenda item called question and answering session with press and public. It's an opportunity for the press and public to ask questions related to items on the agenda. Staff, is anyone present, person online or by phone, to speak to this agenda item?
So we do have some agency attendees who are still with us, does anybody have a question about the agenda? Other than that, we do not have any members of the public attending.
Okay, thank you all for your participation. Do I hear a motion to adjourn the meeting? The motion is made by,
I so move.
do I hear a second?
I second.
All in favor say aye. All against say nay. I will now adjourn the meeting at 8:21 p.m. We'll see you next Thursday.